All right, folks. So let's talk a little bit about endpoint protection. I've mentioned before we are dealing with identities. Okay. Just wanting to talk about one of these features we've got inside Windows 10. That started with Windows 10. Are the fact to change some of the behaviors with that in terms of security. And one of these things is how could we change the way users could be identified? Okay, what is the standard way? So normally you type your username and then the password. Yeah, no, that is not a good behavior for one simple reason. Simply because today people are really struggling about to remember passwords, right? So passwords, okay. Often what you saw people of writing the password and the post-it and putting that on the keyboard on the edge of the screen, right? How do you remember your passwords? Sometimes it's quite difficult because we need to get some complexity, okay? More than 6 characters, uppercase, lowercase, numbers, symbols, blah, blah, blah. And you need to get one for each services where you need to be identified. It's terrible. To be honest, okay? Nobody really remembers that, or they're using even the same in some services, which is even worse, okay? So how could we deal with that? So Microsoft says, why not becoming passwordless? That's one of these features we mention often, how to be passwordless. Well, there are several features that can help to do that. So one of the first thing I like here to mention is the usage of Windows Hello. I don't know if everybody's heard about Windows Hello, but Windows Hello is key-based. So that means we are studying creating a key, and the key is yourself. You are the key. Hello, I'm a key. That's wonderful. I'm an identity, and I'm using my personal recognition to become a key. So here we've got the standard key approach we've got when we are talking to an identity provider, which could be Active Directory, Azure Active Directory, or any others like Google, Facebook, well, you name it. All these folks who are managing identities in cloud services based, right? So when we do that, we need to get a way to start the identification process. Could be biometric, could be using different ways to do the job. So when you start doing that, you need to be able to understand that exchange could be made without being too complex, without being something where Windows Hello could be complex. So Windows Hello are based in 2 versions. We have the local version, which is to be identified locally in our device. And we have what we call Windows Hello for Business, which is using, in fact, the possibility to get our identity streamed and requested directly from Azure Active Directory. Okay. So when we do so, we are bringing the identity management to another level. Okay. To explain a little bit how this notion about security on identities are actually working, I'd like to show you here a small video that explains that more in detail.
We're living in amazing times. The old security paradigms no longer apply. We need to transform our approach to security as well.
Look, the only people in the world who love passwords are hackers because they're hard for humans to remember and they're easy for hackers to guess.
You really need to do more to protect your business.
The first thing everybody should do is go turn on multi-factor authentication. That will cut your risk of attack by 99.9%. We are moving from a world where usernames and passwords are the standard to a world where passwordless authentication is really the standard. So for Microsoft, the best way to see that is with Windows Hello. You just walk up to your PC and using your face or your thumbprint, you can log into your PC. If you don't have a PC like that, though, you can use the Microsoft Authenticator. You just use your phone and you use your thumbprint or your face on that. And then a whole bunch of new solutions are on the way based on a new set of open standards. Those are called the FIDO 2 set of standards. Things like USB keys and badges and wearables.
In order to help everyone be more secure and productive in a world without boundaries, we collaborate across Microsoft, across our industry, and with security experts around the world.
Passwordless authentication is really taking off. Last month, 85 million people logged in using Windows Hello or the Microsoft Authenticator, and then they could get to all of our cloud services. That's really the trend for the future, and it's growing really fast.
It's essential for companies to protect both the privacy and the security of its end users. We are always asking how we can help you to keep them even safer.
So here you've seen just having a small example with that video about the different ways we could implement passwordless approach. So just coming back about Windows Hello, I'd like just to explain how that works. So we are using a camera, would need to get a camera that is compatible for Windows Hello. Not all the cameras are working like that. Some cameras, if you look about Microsoft Surface devices, they've got that kind of camera because you've got the camera and you've got what we call an IR projector that's sending to you several thousand of dots all over your face and doing a 3D mapping. That 3D mapping do what we call a vector-based representation and build up that with your head. And with these kind of things, then you could be able to do a template matching about what is the current identification locally or remotely, okay? And based on machine learning, that thing is able to understand a little bit better how we are, in fact, moving or changing on the time. Because, okay, some cases you've got with hair, without hair, with glasses, without, with makeups or not, with beard, no beard. So all these different things are how our faces could change time to time. And the machine learning is matching that vectorized approach with that knowledge. So more you are using Windows Hello, more the computer are recognizing you in all the different situations, even on the dark, because it's infrared projection, so it works even when you are in a dark place with no lights at all. So these are the kind of things where you could be able then to work on this approach. Okay, that's quite important just to catch on this thing. We can even have the possibility to scan your iris to be able then to get more accuracy regarding the recognition we could get in some cases. Okay, so that image is working in a very large spectrum. And again, because it's 3D, cannot work just presenting a picture. That should be you in front of the projector, in front of your camera. And because of that, then we are starting having the possibility to be recognized. So this is one of the first possibility we've got inside a biometric approach. The second one, though, is using fingerprint. You know, fingerprint has been already used in the industries many times, but the one that's been improved today are the sensors we are actually using. And these sensors are becoming more and more accurate, even using some different things like ultrasound or thermal discovery, and having the possibility to be very accurate about the precision on the fingerprint. Okay, so we are combining different vectors or different elements to be able to say, yeah, that fingerprint is really from a real finger and not from a representation of that finger, is really that finger and not another one. Of course, what we recommend is not to register one finger only, but to have several fingers registered, so in case of you've got some issues, you can change or move about that. You will not be forced to use only one, but you could use several ways to implement Windows Hello. So you can have the fingerprint, but you can get also another ways to be using that. So just for you to understand about what could be the possibilities we've got inside Windows Hello, there is another video that explains a little bit what are the features embedded inside Windows 10 and Windows 11 as well. Let's roll out the video.
Coming up, we'll look at recent updates to Windows Hello for Business. We'll show you why it's even more secure than a password, and new protections from when you are in a public place or from when you're away from your device. With Windows 10, we've introduced Windows Hello as a convenient and more secure alternative to passwords. For businesses, Windows Hello can be deployed in the cloud in a hybrid configuration and now on-premises within your own environment. Hello enables authentication of your user accounts using Active Directory on-premises or Azure Active Directory. There are a number of advantages. The first is the additional security that Windows Hello offers. It has built-in device-based multi-factor authentication by default. Hello relies on something you have, such as the device itself, combined with a remote authenticator, like your phone, your PIN, or a unique identifier, which could be biometrics, like your face or a fingerprint. It importantly moves your organization beyond the security pitfalls of passwords. And here's how. When you use a password to authenticate, whatever is in your head has to be stored on the corresponding host environment. It's probably hashed, salted, or encrypted, but it's there. Now there are a few issues with this. First, if the server is breached, it can be compromised releasing passwords into the wild. Also on the user side, most of us reuse our passwords across services, which increases our attack surface if passwords are stolen. And of course, a user can be tricked into giving away their corporate passwords via phishing. The way to solve for this is to ensure that what's stored on the host environment and on the side of the users do not match. This is called an asymmetric approach. It works similarly to how certificates work today, with an asymmetrical key pair of private and public keys. The public key sits on the host environment, in this case Azure, and a unique private key sits on the TPM chip on the user's device and never leaves it. During sign-in, your biogesture, meaning your face or fingerprint, unlocks the private key to perform a signing operation, and that results in your device obtaining an authentication token from Azure Active Directory without sharing any secrets with the server. Now once you're authenticated, another advantage is seamless single sign-on to your apps and services. First, let me show you the experience without Windows Hello. I'll sign into Windows using my traditional password. Now when I open my browser, navigate to office.com and I'll sign in. As you can see, I'm being prompted for multi-factor authentication, in this case my phone. I'm sent a text message with a code which I'll enter now. Although it ends up being secure, it's not very user-friendly, especially if I have to do this multiple times a day. With Hello, on the other hand, I can use facial recognition to authenticate. Remember, it's multi-factor authentication by default. We have the private key on the TPM, which is unlocked with my biogesture. I'm going to authenticate with my face. As you can see, it's almost instant. Now let me open the browser and go to office.com. And as you can see, I'm logged on directly. Now, as an additional safeguard, if you are, for example, in an untrusted location, maybe you're working remotely or in a public space, such as a coffee shop when you sign in. For this, we also added the ability to apply an additional factor for unlocking the device. In this case, I'm going to use a PIN to log onto my device. But because I'm in an unknown location, Windows prompts me to authenticate with another factor. First, it will try to verify the network and then my phone. In this case, I simulated that my phone is out of range by disabling Bluetooth. Now when I re-enable Bluetooth and log in again, Windows will see my device in proximity and logs me in, completing authentication with an additional factor. And since I have my phone paired with this device, let me show you one more thing. We've added a new capability called Dynamic Lock, which automatically locks the device when your paired Bluetooth device, such as your phone, is away from your PC. So if I walk away from my device with my phone in my possession, my computer is safe. To demonstrate this, you'll see that my PC will automatically lock in a moment when I turn off Bluetooth. This is a significant improvement over the standard 15-minute idle timeout. And anyone can get this working. Go to Start, Settings, choose Accounts, Sign in Options, scroll down, and this is where you can enable Dynamic Lock, which I've already enabled. Lastly, I mentioned before that we've added a new option to deploy Windows Hello in your on-premises environment. There are a number of support ways for doing this based on your specific configuration, and you can learn more about these options at the link shown. So that was a quick overview of Windows Hello for Business and the latest updates to give you a secure and seamless authentication experience for your users. As you move forward with Windows 10 in your organization, we encourage you to take a look at Windows Hello and to start your journey into a world without passwords, an area that Microsoft is continuing to lead as a key member of the Industry FIDO Alliance. You can learn more about Windows Hello for Business at the link shown. Thanks for watching.
The different approaches we could see here. And one of these things is using security keys. We saw that on the previous video just before, and I'd like just to jump on that possibility. I don't know if you already played with security keys. Who's are actually using FIDO security keys? There is someone who's never seen that or would like to see how security keys are working, how we could enroll security keys? Who's are interested? Yeah, I see some people who are interested. Okay, so there is a different formats of security keys in FIDO Alliance. So I highly encourage you to go in that approach, because in the user adoption, and this is really something where you have to think about the fact to be, while using cameras or fingerprints, some people are having a thought regarding that and saying, I'm not feeling really comfortable to be on that way. Well, using a security key could be a very good approach. Let me show you one of this. Let's say one of the simplest ones. Here is one, okay? It's not a storage key, it's an identity key. We can store 250 identities, I guess, in such a small device. It's something that is quite cheap, okay? But this is already there, okay? Let me show you in a demonstration how that could work. So I will open a browser, okay? I will do that in private mode, so that could be even better. And I will show you that, sharing now my screen. Okay, let me go there. And in private, where it is. Here we go. Okay, folks. I guess you can see my screen? Yeah? Everybody can see my screen? Yeah, thumbs up. Perfect. So, let's take an example. Let's say I would like to go to my Microsoft page. So, I type www.office.com, okay? And normally, well, sorry, my screen is in French, so for the people who are not talking in French, I'm sorry, but we are speaking in French in my region of Switzerland. I'm just exaggerating a little bit. You got it, right? So, but you know that window. Who's asking you now username and password? What should be email and password, right? But there is a second option here, option of connections. This is where I go. I click on there, and it's asking me if I want to use a security key, which I will do. So I pick up that choose here, and I will have a window that is asking me which kind of identity I want to use, or if I want to use a security key. Let's say I'm not in a trustable computer, and he's asking me now to insert my key, which I do here on my USB port. Bling, we heard it something. And we will see here is asking me for a PIN code, just for that device. And then it will ask me to touch that device, which I do. I have a small sensor here, just touching it. And here is asking me for which ID I want to use. Let's say I will lock down, and ta-da! Connected. I can remove the key. I don't need to maintain the key on my reader. Okay, look at that. Like magic. Yeah, wonderful. But what's going on if I want to use another kind of ideas? Let's say, for example, I want to, use Microsoft ID instead of being in Azure Active Directory. That works exactly the same way. Let me show you that. So open back again here. I will open another in private window, restarting my job here. So sharing my screen again. Here we go. So for the people who's never seen or never used this kind of thing, it's pretty useful, because as you will see, I use that in my private life all the time. Let's say outlook.com. Boom. Okay. So we've got here that connection window again, and exactly the same thing here. So taking again option of connections, and here I will use my security key again. Same thing. You will ask me, can you put the key? Yeah, I want to use the key. Let's say I want to use my key because I'm not sure about that computer. Doesn't smell good. All right, so let's try it. Putting my key again. It will ask me again to put my PIN code for that key. I will have to touch it again. Here we go. And it will ask me which identity I want to choose. In that case, that one. And voila. But now what could be interesting is to see how could I get this information done for my profile. So let's go on my account here, maintaining that connection with that identity, okay? And I will put that in English so everybody could be able to understand what I'm talking about here, all in French, okay? Let's move that in English. So having that in English, English, where are you English? English, United States, wonderful. Perfect. So here we are on my account. So this is my family account. So I could see the devices where are actually registered to my Microsoft ID. So I've got here 2 services, and I got some security features. And look at that. I can even manage my family. So here I have my son who's often playing Minecraft or this kind of things, and I want to be sure he's not going in some weird places. So I can control all the settings of his device right from here. And this is something embedded inside Microsoft Windows 10 or Windows 11, which is a free functionality. You can use that in any case. This is on Microsoft ID. So just have to register Microsoft IDs, put your families inside, and then that's going to be okay. If I go in security and go into my security dashboard, you will see here there is a lot of different security basics, and one of this interesting thing is in advanced security options, okay? And here we've got the possibility to activate the two-step verification, okay? And here you can see I have an email, I have a phone number with Azure Authenticator, which we've seen just before, and here I have several security keys, okay? I could register, I just have to click here and I could add one. But let me show you that from a Microsoft 365 perspective, okay? So coming back here, closing that window, and coming back from my previous window, where I could be able then to see a little bit more things. So here we got, okay, and now I'm just opening here another window, what that brings to me back. So hello, here we go. Can I get the plus here? Oh, moving that window here. Okay, and that's frustrating because I'm trying to move that stuff here. Hello. Okay, so plus, perfect. There is a way on Microsoft 365 or Azure Active Directory where you can get information. It's mysignings.microsoft.com. Okay, so I invite you to do that. So, and here I am inside my account page on Azure Active Directory, and as you can see here, I can get the full recent activity I get on my ID, on my Microsoft Azure ID information. So as you can see here, there is an IP addresses, exactly the same view we saw on the admin console, but this is from user perspective. We saw from the admin perspective, and this is from the user perspective. And as you can see again, we can see the successful signings, the location, and even the IP here if I open it. And if I have unsuccessful versions here, that's seen here, some applications I've got in Paris which are not fully compliant with strong authentication. And here if I go downstairs, oh look at that, Holland, oh Holland. And here is the successful ones. Do you know what is that? In Amsterdam, Windows signing, what is that? What I'm supposed to do in Amsterdam? I'm based in Switzerland. Well, it turns out there is something in Amsterdam. We've got the Microsoft data center, and I'm using Windows 365 on my ID, on Azure ID. So this is what I'm logging in on my Windows 365 computer. So this is something where I could even trace when I've been connected, from where, and all these different things, okay? What is also really interesting here, if I go in security info, I'm back in the same kind of page we saw with Microsoft ID. So here we can see my first device is my phone. So I'm using Azure ID to be one of my main systems. So if I use actually Microsoft here, I could be able then to use my Azure ID to be able then to connect that. Everybody's, I don't know if everybody has seen Azure ID. I could show you that with Azure Authenticator. So if you never used Azure Authenticator, let's just jump out on Azure Authenticator just to show you how that works. Okay, so sharing here my iPhone screen, so you could be able then to see what it looks like. All right, can you see my iPhone screen, folks? Yeah? Yeah, wonderful. So moving to my application here, there is my Azure Authenticator here in the middle, and it's working with, I have an iPhone, okay. That works as well with Android, by the way. But here with Azure Authenticator, we can use biometrics on the smartphone itself to unlock the access to your different authentications. So if I go here, Face ID is opening the page, and here I can get my Azure ID account, which is actually synchronized with different services, okay? The language change depending, of course, the operating system language you've got on your device, okay? So here we could see also one-time password that has been synchronized for third-party applications, okay? So that works in several things, okay? I can store even my identities in different other services and passwords right from there and being used on Microsoft Edge in case of I want to do so. So these are the different things, and we can have really easily new identities just putting a press, so using a Microsoft ID, Azure Active Directory, or even other services like Google, Facebook, or whatever. So we are scanning a QR code, and that identity will generate a one-time password or being linked with the kind of identity provider we've got in the cloud. So it's not just for Microsoft, it's quite open. So that approach helps you to get this thing completely open. This is an open standard we're actually using, and where we could be able to use that in several ways, in several approaches. So this is something I highly recommend you to use if you want to do so. Of course, you've got Google Authenticator, Facebook Authenticator. These applications are just oriented for one identity provider. But more open you are, more easy you can integrate that on a smartphone. But again, coming back to what we've just saw about security keys. So as you can see here, if I come back on my previous window, let me show that again. Boom. So here, we've got all these security keys. And as you can see, these security keys brings to you the possibility to control how we want you to be able to log in. So we need to get at first a first identity solution, which is actually my phone. And then we can register new keys, okay? And there is a lot of different keys we can register. I've got a lot of different formats here. So I've shown you that one, but this is just, as you can see, this is just a small button there, just to press. But I have to enter a PIN code. Let's say you are paranoid enough to say, I don't want to enter a PIN code. All right, no problem. Do you prefer to use a fingerprint?
Hoe ver stond je met de offerte van agence van de labelen?
Sorry, I hear. Sorry, I've deactivated the microphone. If you have questions, don't hesitate to raise your hand in case of, or put that on the chat. All right. So here is an example, as you can see, of a USB key with a fingerprint for registration. Okay, that one is pretty brand new. Okay, I have another one with our ear, for example, but with USB-C, working exactly in the same way, folks. Right. So and we have several formats as well. Let's say here I want to use with NFC. We can use NFC. We've seen on the video. So here's another one without using fingerprint and NFC detection, or even Bluetooth. And if you're on a computer which have none of this, hey, look at that, boom, plug it in, USB-C connector. So that one is pretty useful. I'm using that for opening my door because I use NFC readers to open my doors at home, or you can even use in other cases, in other situations. There are smaller versions I can have on my keychain, for example, also Bluetooth, NFC, and with a fingerprint, okay? And if you are using PKIs or other kind of authentication you want to be able to use there is, for example, that kind of card. Look at that. You have the chip here, and look at that. Yes, this is a fingerprint reader right on the card using NFC and Bluetooth. So if you have an NFC reader, you can use it, and could be used as an ID card or to open doors or whatever. So these kind of solutions could be validated to be able to open your session on your Windows computer. It's part of the settings you can get without passwords. How do we register a key? Maybe you would like to see how do we register a key. That is pretty simple. So I will use that one here, never registered. So I got here to have a method. I choose a method and using a security key. I click on add. It will ask me to get a second factor authentication to validate I am who I am. So I could use Windows Hello, Face. Well, today I'm not looking good enough to be recognized, but anyway. All right, so here we're back, and he's asking me which one I want to use, USB or NFC. I'll say USB key. I click next, and he's redirecting me to a page that will ask me to present the key. Okay, we will configure that key. It says okay, validating twice, and now he's asking me to put the key on my reader, which I do. We heard the signal, and he's asking me to a new PIN code, which I type here, in case of my fingerprint recognition doesn't work. So it says okay. Now he's asking me to touch my key, which I do, and that's it. And now he's asking me to give a name to that key. So I will call that key Feitian, because it's a Feitian key, USB 2. Let's say like that. Oh, already got 10 keys. We have maximum of 10 keys here registered. Well, what can I do here? I probably get here. I can delete that one. I'm not using it anymore. Boom. And trying again. So add a method and trying again. Here we go. USB. Next. I'm doing exactly the same steps. There we go. The pin code I've just validated here. Touching the key, so he's scanning my fingerprint. As you can see, it's quite fast. Okay, so okay, here we go. Well, I said my name. Okay, next. I have more than 10 keys again? Oh, well, I'll probably have to register that in another portal, but that works in other portals as well. So that just to give to you an idea about, let's say, deleted that one as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That should work now. Oh, yeah, it's already configured. Yes, it's just downstairs. Thank you. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, guys. All right, so, okay. My mistake, I didn't see here. It's already configured. So, it's working, right? So, just have to put it off, and I could use normally again. So, let's try it. Let's try it, okay? Let's try it. So, starting in private page just to see if it works, because nobody is forced to believe me, okay? And sharing again my screen. Sharing screen, here we go. In private, where are you? Where are you, my signings? Okay, sharing in private, hello. No, that's not that one I want to open. Come on. Oh gosh, that one. Stop here. Stop that and start that one. Okay, now it works. Okay, so let's start again. Office.com, boom, with my new key, my brand new key here. All right, here we go. I put it inside, so I say security keys. And normally, because I'm using fingerprint, it should not ask me for a PIN code. Well, of course, it's asked for. And now, fingerprint. And that's it. It's magic. Working fine. Okay? So as you see, no passwords, and that could be quite useful for your users, because a PIN code is just locally based on that device, cannot be hacked. There is no Wi-Fi or whatever so far in this kind of keys. As you can see, it's pretty simple to get that on a keyring, and having that also to open that on any kind of computers. There is also very small versions for iOS. Let's see that it's even smaller. From one side you have Lightning, and to another one you have USB-C. So if you have one of these two connections, even in other devices, you can use a second factor authentication. So just to give you a small glimpse about how that works with the security ID. I hope that helps you just to get that point to understand how we could use these things today, okay?